In this episode of the RV Small Talk podcast, changes are coming, the winds are changing direction, and people are going places. It might be you, it might be me. Let's dive into this episode and find out. Welcome to the RV Small Talk podcast, where we talk about people, places, adventures, and the people who ride around in truck campers and trailers. If you're one of them, if you want to be one of them, we're talking to you. We're the fine folks of the RV Small Talk podcast at Princess Craft RV. I'm Clint.
I'm PJ.
And I am smiling through the pain.
Oh, I think I just called us fine folks. Is that a little bit...
Well, I think...
You called us what?
Fine folks.
Fine
That was
folks.
like, shouldn't someone else be labeling... Like, someone seeing us should be like, those are three fine folks. Not me going, hey, we're fine folks.
I think it's okay. Why can't we be? I want to be
We're
a fine
just
folk.
three incredibly amazing human beings.
And we look
sitting
good, too.
here, and we're just so beautiful. We're also very intelligent.
Whoa.
Welcome.
Yeah. That's why this is a podcast. It's not an encyclopedia.
So it's been a minute since we've sat down at the microphones because it's been super busy.
Yay,
Princess
super
Craft.
busy.
Yeah.
Have we done a podcast since we hit
Yes.
our YouTube? We talked about that? Okay.
yeah,
I feel
so-
like
Yeah.
it's...
We definitely, so if you're wondering what that was, our main YouTube channel for Princess Craft, where we do all kinds of walkthrough tours, we did a hard push at the end of 2024 to get our 100,000 subscribers, and we did, and we have the plaque around here, the YouTube plaque around here to prove it.
That's right. That's right. And it was so cool.
Yeah.
And, our YouTube channel was started by Clint.
Yeah. Yeah. So the funny thing about YouTube is, and most people know this probably, if you start a Gmail account, you technically have a YouTube account. So Princess Craft
What?
did have.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Because that's how you log into YouTube, and all you have to do to put a video on your channel is put a video on your channel. You've already logged in. You have a YouTube account because you have a Gmail account. So Princess Craft had an email for Gmail uses, and I just uploaded the first video.
And one day we said, well, we're doing these little videos for customers. And Clint said, why don't we just put it on YouTube? And I was like, well, I don't care.
Right.
I kind of just was like, okay, whatever. And off they went.
Yeah.
And here we are today.
Right.
How many years ago was that, Clint?
The channel started in 2011. The first video, I think, shows up in 2012, which I do encourage people to go to our YouTube account
really?
and find. Oh,
Really?
yes. Because
I do not encourage people to do that. We
I
will not
do.
be a fine folk at that point.
You have to scroll a lot.
You
it's-
remember those old movies that, have your grandparents having a picnic in the backyard?
Yeah.
And, they're all scratchy and weird and
Sure.
awkward.
Sure.
And
What do they call that? Like beta 8?
I don't
8?
know.
Super 8.
But that's what those YouTube videos remind me of.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago for all of us.
Well, we were
And
learning our way of doing
We
things.
were.
You hadn't really presented on. I mean, you are a very good interpersonal communicator with anyone I've ever seen you with. However, talking to a camera is different, and
Yes.
you were early in that, doing it regularly. And I was shooting at the time on maybe a Canon Power Shot or
No,
something.
you were
like.
shooting on your phone in the beginning.
The
Your
phone-
video work looks like you were like making the Blair Witch Project
It
too
was
or
rough.
something.
It was
It's
so
pretty funny.
choppy.
Okay, so while we are reminiscing
Yes.
about these things, and while we're talking about how we are such fine folks, let's tell people the reason we're doing this podcast. We haven't even told them what it's about.
Oh, yeah.
Let's jump in.
But if we say it, it becomes quite real.
It is quite real, and that's why we're here today. And Lindsay is smiling through the pain, but we're going to have a really fun podcast
Yeah.
talking about it. So, Clint, what's
Yes.
the scoop?
I am heading off into the sunset. I'm going west with my family. What's going on is there is some family land to the west of here, a little bit too far for me to commute. And it's come time with where my family's at that someone needs to start learning the ropes, if you will, and start managing it while I have resources. So I'm going to go to the family land. I'm going to learn the operations and start taking care of the cattle, the hay business, and see if I can also revitalize it a bit. So that's what's happening.
Clint's going to be
Clint's
a
moving.
rancher.
Yeah, a jolly one. Also tall, and I like green, so I'm going to be a jolly green rancher. A green jolly rancher. Which are kind of the sour apple ones, right?
Stop.
So stay tuned, because one of these days there's going to be the hope is to move the operation to a really nice. It's not a massive piece of land, which means it to make itself something special. You have to do something special. It's not going to be a standard ranch operation. We're going to be moving towards grass fed, grass finished, whatever comes off the land. Right now there's cattle there. I have a history. I grew up raising goats and donkeys. We're going to see what kind of diversity I can bring onto the property and offer to the community, not like statewide, not nationwide, but to the community, what kind of high quality products we can raise as green, as grass fed, as organic as we can. But it's a process to get to that point. So I need to get started on the learning and the doing and the documentation. So it could be cattle, it could be poultry and eggs and kind of the world's our oyster, except for there's not salt water there. So not even freshwater oysters. Anyways.
So today is actually Clint's last day.
Yes.
Here at Princess Craft.
It's true.
So they decided it would be a good idea to stick us in front of microphones and talk about Clint leaving.
Yes.
Hey, wait, I have a question.
I think it's a
Do you
great
name
idea.
your cows at the farm, at the ranch?
No.
Because there's too many and you're going to kill them?
Okay, so there aren't too many right now because no one has been on that land full time for quite a few years. So it's been basically a maintenance herd. So there's less than 20 at the moment.
Will you name one Lindsay?
But that's the first one going to the block.
Okay.
Right now they have your tags, so you have 84 and whatnot.
I want 84.
You want 84?
I want 85.
Okay, 84 is actually quite your personality.
When you get chickens,
Uh-huh.
I want a chicken named after me.
Oh man, This is gonna
I
be
do not
brutal.
want a cow named after me.
Okay, so
But I will take a chicken.
the kids do want to do egg chickens and meat chickens, but they also want some pet chickens.
Well, I want an egg chicken. I do not want a meat chicken.
Well, you can be a pet chicken.
Caitlin, what do you want to be?
Carry you around.
I just want you to give me a cow.
She's been asking for a Highland cow so bad.
So,
Yeah, well, we thought a podcast, if you guys are out there listening, thank you. Always glad to have you. But I don't know, somehow we have spent so much of our life either talking to a microphone one way or another
Right.
with cameras
Right.
that it just seems fitting to say goodbye on camera.
Oh.
So, yeah.
bye.
That's why.
I'm sorry.
That's why the
I thought
podcast
that was my
seemed like a
time.
good idea. So, we pretty much had to tie Lindsay to the table. She wasn't too excited.
Yeah, it's
But-
just going to be like awful joke after awful joke, so I don't cry.
So let's back up.
Okay.
2011, we started putting videos out there. Yeah, you were tired of being a teacher, wandering around.
Yes.
And you decided to start this. I'll just do people's social media.
That's right. Yep.
And somebody said, you should talk to PJ at Princess Craft. And I was
I
like,
went to a Chamber of Commerce
Sure, why not?
meeting in Pflugerville, which was close to your old location.
mm-hmm.
And Junie Henderson,
Hi, Junie.
she said, you need to go talk to Princess Craft, go talk to PJ. And it's so close. It is
Walk across the street.
a block from your old location.
Yeah.
I came over and y'all were, bustling because you were already in the process, I think, of getting this place that we're currently at and whatnot. And I didn't know all that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I just was meeting you for the first time. You took the time to say, so wait a second, who are you? What do you do? Tell me more about it. And it literally was a very short meeting. I think Laura was sitting in the truck or something like that. And this is before I had kids, everything. And you basically were come back. I need to see something a little bit more concrete. And it was a very brief conversation. And you said, I'm going to give you a shot. And away we went. It was a bit of social media management. At the time, it's pretty much just Facebook.
Yeah, that's pretty much all there was.
And you already were doing some on Facebook at that point in time, and actually a bit more than I would have expected. But you were doing quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know who or when or why.
It's 2011,
was I doing
2012.
it? I might have been.
And
I don't know.
But you also needed help with a website, and I got access to that, and I was changing your banners and stuff like that, doing some SEO. And so at the time, my two big projects, because I was freelancing, if you will, were Princess Craft and a little candy store in Bastrop, Texas, the Sugar Shack.
I remember
which everyone always thought was a different kind of shack. But that was another cool place. And between the two of you, I was cutting my teeth learning how to get good messages out.
So what was you talked about, like, how you're like, oh, let's just upload this video to YouTube, but like, why did you start making videos in the first place?
Oh, we started making videos because most of what we sold was people far away, across the country, because back then we really sold, for the most part, truck campers. We also sold teardrops, the tab, the original tab that was made by Dutchman and owned by Thor.
Right.
And they weren't back around, and we sold A-liners. That was all we sold. So the majority of our business was truck campers.
The early videos actually will show that, because that's what's on there. But we also have Gordon and Angela from Truck Camper Magazine.
When they started.
One of our first videos, they came out to
So it was just a
shows.
way to like show, like, here's the unit you're getting.
Well, No. I remember the first time we filmed, it was a guy on the phone. You were sitting there, and the guy says, my wife wants to see the storage. Can you go out and measure them? And Clint said, well, let's just do a video.
Yep.
And so, the nerd that he is, he thought that was more involved in this big project. We went out there, we videoed showing him the storage and sent it. He said, I'll just send him the video.
Right. And it's just a link, because YouTube made it easy.
And to my credit, I learned early on that computers were the way to go.
You were a bit cutting edge before I showed up.
Because we had to be. We're at a dead end street.
At that point,
we had no drive by.
You emphasized the website in our first conversations.
Yeah.
And that you could use some help keeping it fresh and maybe doing some updates and all that.
And so who knew now in 2020, what are we, 2025, that I am the least knowledgeable around here of all the details, because I haven't handled them in so long.
Yeah.
So,
so
I don't really need to know anymore. I just know what needs to be out there.
And the reason for the website is to be found on the current digital marketplace. And then when I started to learn and understand that, YouTube is owned by Google, and Google being search engine worldwide #1 and YouTube being #2, owned by #1, I started to put together, this is SEO gold. And in the early 2010s, we were ahead of most of the pack.
Well, there just weren't a lot of people thinking that way, but there were people starting to buy long distance.
Right.
And with truck campers, you had to buy long distance.
Absolutely.
Because there weren't very many of us, which is the other thing that helped us.
Sure.
We could have been in Nowheresville, and we kind of were in Pflugerville, Texas.
Right.
But people could find us online, because that was the only way to find truck campers. So it kind of we started doing quick little phone videos for people to see the camper. Hey, we'll just do a little video and send it to you. And then all of a sudden we had all these little videos.
Right. And they got views. The videos that were made for a specific person to see a specific thing were being viewed by hundreds of people. Didn't make sense, but it kind of started to when we realized how people were learning on this YouTube. We figured YouTube was just sharing
a video,
goofiness,
kind of an Instagram.
It became
thing.
Education. They call it YouTube University for a reason.
But it really wasn't back then. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that YouTube was even around or that prevalent 15 years ago.
Right.
You know, everything seems like it's so recent.
Does.
And
I think I first heard about YouTube in 2004, 2005.
so what other adventures have we tried that didn't work? I mean,
That didn't work. No.
have we tried anything that didn't work? Because you're always thinking of new things.
you know,
No,
honestly,
that's you.
No, that's oh, now I get it.
you know, we've had good luck. We have a pretty good batting average. I mean, the podcast itself is a thing. And I wasn't at the first rally or two, but I was at probably the third. And Laura came out, and again, is before we had kids and all. Rallies, they still carry on and have good attendance. Shows, we don't do quite the same number of spring shows, but we do shows better now, bigger and better than when I first visited, again as a contract employee. Stuff persists
There are
around
those
here.
2 summers. I feel like it was like a year or a year and a
Mhm.
half where like me and you just did every
Oh,
event.
okay. Yes.
we could get our hands on. Like
Okay,
it was awful.
that didn't work.
But I mean, it did work for the time being, I think. I mean,
We were so young and and
well-
ready to get sunburned.
Yeah, we had just come. I think that was pretty soon after we got to Round Rock.
and I just can't believe
Yeah.
that we spent so much time like dragging trailers to the other side of Austin and trying to shove it through
Right.
the fence at Shady Grove and trying
Oh,
to
yes.
reverse it into Zilker Park and trying to put it at ABGB's, remember,
Yes.
on the porch, on the
Yes.
patio,
Yeah.
like 4 days before I gave birth. That was like, I just like, when I think about like me and Clint, like that summer is really like what I think about, because
Yeah.
it was like me and you and a tag, and we're just like going
Right.
and talking to people and trying to
Yeah.
just be everywhere. And
Trying
it
to
was-
talk
we
to
did-
drunk people.
It was exhausting.
We did Blues on the
It
Green.
was
Yes.
so much fun.
which is
which
a
was-
big deal.
It is a big outdoor free concert.
Which you have been attending since you were, in diapers.
Well, it didn't happen when she was in diapers, but
Oh.
Yeah, it
she was
did.
young.
Well, pretty young, at least.
But you were younger, yeah. It started at the Arboretum.
Mm-hmm.
So did I take you there when you were little?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so Blues on the Green is now at Zilker. It's a very big music event that's free, and they have kind of booths on the edge. And we took a trailer to every single one of them.
Minimum 1 trailer, sometimes 3,
Yeah.
And we provided a trailer for the green room backstage,
which was a fiasco.
which was awful. FYI, never do that again.
Do that.
We set them up with a Gulf Stream. Was it a Gulf Stream?
It was like not an Envision, but like not the Holiday House. What was the big one that was like a house?
Is a big
You
one.
called it a cabin cruiser.
Cabin Cruiser, and it's a big one.
It was a
And
cabin cruiser.
I had been working at Prince Craft for not very long, and I had to hop in a shop truck and haul that thing through downtown Austin, through
That's a
one-way
no.
streets, narrow with trees, and I learned a lot.
And then we'd set up all those trailers on the side,
Yes.
and we'd have brochures, and we'd talk to people. You remember that time that guy got arrested, like right there? We're
Yes.
trying to show trailers, and there's all the police, and we're like, okay, this looks really bad on Princess Craft.
And there's
And then-
usually like a baby or two, like
Right.
yeah.
right.
in the sun on the lawn.
Well,
Yeah,
you
'cause
had
what else
Hawk
did we
at
do?
the time? Who was quite small, and then
The Hawk was like 3, and Simone was
Simone
an
was
infant.
an infant, and she was a tiny thing who just bopped around with us.
Strapped her on my
She was-
back and put the wet towel on her head.
She was just the
Oh gosh.
always there
We went
baby.
to the Tiny Home Festival.
Yes. Yep.
We
Yes.
went to the beer garden thing. We went to
Country Music Live down
Country
at
Music
the
Live in Dripping Springs.
Yeah, yeah. We were out there for like they did a 5 or 6 series,
Yeah.
and we were outside,
we saw
and then
like Rick
and then
Trevino and Clint Black.
one
and-
inside. Yeah. So we did probably 15 to 20 music events within 3 or 4
And
months.
all those radio events.
Radio,
and the-
yep.
Do you remember? Yeah, that was an exhausting summer, and
Yeah,
that
but
was an epic fail.
It wasn't. I don't think it was. It was
We
like
came away with expensive memories.
it was
Very
I don't know.
expensive, very exhausting. I
Like, I'm
remember
sure at the
almost
time
getting-
it was hot and awful, but I remember it being really fun
I'm glad you do because you
and an
complained a lot.
adventure. Yeah, I mean,
Do you remember when we all got heat stroke at Zilker and we finally
Yes.
just
We went to Chewy's.
abandoned everything and went to Chewy's and drank margaritas?
Just
that's what you do when you get
cold
heat stroke.
drinks.
Just like take the trailers. We don't care.
Yeah, we were like, yeah, we're done here. We got to go drink.
I mean, we were opening up credit union locations with trailers outside. Look,
That's
right.
you could buy a trailer using this credit
We
union.
took a trailer to
right.
a bank parking lot.
Yes, we did.
That's
Yes.
right.
They really wanted us
They
there.
really did
Yep.
want us
because
there.
they thought the teardrops would bring attention. And I remember thinking, I mean, that was when I finally said, okay, guys,
We're not
stop.
Stop saying yes to everything.
Please stop.
That's so funny. We just got like an inquiry a couple days ago to like do a country music festival in Austin.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And Steve was like, "Are we doing this?" I was like, "Nope.
Nope,
I don't.
nope.
I don't want the details. I
Can't do
don't,
it.
Like,
It's only
just-
$1,000. We can take
Nope.
2 to 6 trailers. And
No.
I was like,
No.
oh, we
Oh,
just don't
brother.
have the energy for
They can come
that.
to us.
Yeah.
A younger me would still be all over it.
Yeah. I mean, it would be fun.
Yeah.
But no, I just can't. But that was one of the things we tried. We really leaned in. Do you remember it was the year after that we gave away a tag trailer?
Oh, that we had wrapped. And
I don't remember
We
if
did.
we wrapped it. Did we?
Yeah.
It had
We had it
music
wrapped.
notes and
music
it had a
notes.
music Texas theme because we're the music
It was
live
like a-
music
A
capital.
radio station.
Austin artist who
Yeah.
like designed it and
Yeah.
we wrapped it.
Oh yeah, we
and
did that one. Yeah.
That was the year I got free passes to South by Southwest.
Well, you little.
I mean-
wow.
Huh?
Do y'all remember that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, me and Jackie went and we had wristbands
Yeah.
because of the radio stuff that we did. We gave away wristbands to
Mhm.
South by Southwest and then they gave us 2.
Wow.
And me and Jackie went and it was like,
Okay, so maybe we need to do this some more.
no.
Get wristbands.
It wasn't worth- no.
worth
It
it.
wasn't
Caitlin will
worth
do
it.
it. Hey, Caitlin,
She does
you don't
like
have
music.
all these great memories. You can go do all these
She
events.
does like live music.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that we tried that maybe wasn't the best. I don't know. I don't think it made us much money. We did have a lot of bonding experiences.
We did, and you know, I think bonding experiences are huge for us internally, relationally, and all that. But I think it's kind of like if you go on a camping trip, and it's one of those fiascos from beginning to end, but you survive it.
And then it becomes this great
for
memory.
years to come. It's actually really fun to tell the story of survival, and I think that's where this is with us now. That particular
Yeah.
summer was absolutely brutal from a heat,
Survival.
humidity, and
Yeah.
just scheduling standpoint. But it is fun to reminisce about.
Yeah. I don't know if we're even telling an interesting story or not by reminiscing on that, but
I think this is a
It was a
podcast
lot.
for us, not for them.
okay. Well, then I'm good with that.
But we have
We don't need to be
friends.
entertaining.
Yes, we have friends. I'm just
Yeah.
not going to worry about if it's entertaining.
Good.
Fair.
Well, what other memories over all these years do you have, Clint, that stick out in your mind of wow?
Greg?
Yeah.
I
Hi,
remember
Greg.
You know who
Not
you
talking
are.
to you. Sorry.
What about when we went, we did our off-grid camping trip?
Oh yeah.
We like had this idea that we were going to put
Yeah.
together these like small, like not rallies at all.
camp with Princess Craft
We were
kind
just,
of things.
yeah, we were just going to go take trailers and I had never camped off grid before
Yeah.
and I wasn't about to do it by myself. So Clint came with Laura's parents.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
And
we had
that's
a good
how
turnout.
a lot of customers are too.
And
They
and
just don't want to do it by themselves.
didn't Tina and Therese come?
They came out. They couldn't actually stay, but they came and visited.
came and
then
visited.
we had that other couple in the truck camper. We actually had probably about 10 people come out for off-grid camping.
I
And it was
remember.
out on the other side of the lake at one of the LCRA parks.
Yeah.
And I digress. Doesn't matter where it was, but it was off-grid, and it it was not a rally feel at all. It was just friends who, some of us just meeting each other, camping for a couple nights, and it got cold.
and I think that is still a brilliant idea. I think we should do that.
It was fun because it was like the only time that I got to like camp with you and camp.
Just camp.
And like our kids played together. I remember we brought
could
like that
fish
ball
and a
game.
ball game, yep.
And you had like the tent set up with the toys, and Simone and Everett was real little.
Yes.
And Simone loved playing with him. And so like the kids could play together. And I remember just like sitting in a chair next to you and like talking and being like, oh, we're camping. This is weird. What's the next event? You
Because
know,
we're-
like what do we?
well,
We're
we're
used
kinda
to
used to
running
the rally
rallies.
schedule.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where we're going and thinking about setting up. Do we have everything? All right, we got to do this. Be here, get that. Did you get that? And to just camp and just sit there and talk to each other. Even at work, we don't really have time to sit and talk to each. I mean,
Environment
sometimes we talk more than we
dictates
should,
a lot.
but
So just so you're aware, that particular park is maybe 15 minutes from the ranch.
I know that park.
Yeah.
Like I've been to that. Like I went to that park all the time when I was
I
a
just
kid.
can't remember the name right
Why
now.
can't I remember the name of it?
I don't know.
But yeah.
Well, let's do
I'll
that
be out that
again
way.
then. We should schedule that.
That was fun.
We should go dry camp. Just
You know,
Just go
another
hang out.
thing that I think about when I think about like the history of Princess Craft with Clint is the dog videos.
yes.
Yes.
I
That
had
was kind of like
forgotten.
your brainchild, right?
Well,
I
Or
don't
was it
know,
PJ's?
but it
It
became
wasn't mine.
So I don't recall whose brainchild, but it kind of became my creative outlet for a while. I got
think-
to be really goofy with those.
yes, I think
really
what
goofy.
happened is we decided we wanted to have another community support project.
Right.
And we're like, how about the shelter? And Lindsay, you were instrumental in saying we should do something with the shelter. So we made an appointment and we went and talked to the woman who was in charge there, Misty. And
Who has been on the podcast, by the way?
yes,
she
yes,
is
we have a
still in
podcast
charge.
with her.
Yeah.
Of the
But she has
Williamson.
moved up and someone is actually doing
Right.
more of
She has
the
gatekeepers.
hands-on. Yes. But back then, she was pretty much the community person. And she
Right.
said, we just have some dogs that have been here for a year
Right.
or 2 years
They need exposure.
or 4 years.
Right.
And we have such an aged population. We need to get them noticed. So between us sitting at a table, we said, well, we'll just do a video every week.
Sure.
And I don't think she quite expected to do the videos that we did, but we,
Sorry.
so we
Sorry,
kind
Misty.
of, as Clint is known to do, he took it to the next level. And we went every week and
Thursdays.
filmed
We had a little path that we
dog.
took.
Lindsay and Clint
And then
really
we
were
would
in
go
charge
to
of it.
Starbucks
Yep.
afterwards.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't necessarily, sometimes I wouldn't have an idea of what we would do until we're driving out there or till we met the dog. I mean, I had no
Yeah.
idea.
But then you would make up all these like characters. Like we would assign a personality and
Yep.
an accent and a voice.
Yeah, the dog would have an accent.
This
and
dog, and you would create like a whole story about why. But like just sitting in that teeny tiny office that was
Yes.
like half of this room, and hearing Clint just like over there in his desk, just like making up whatever accent over and over again. And PJ and I just had to like be really quiet because there's no other place to go. So
that was when we all shared an office and
Yes.
it was tiny. I mean, guys, it was
There's a walk-in closet.
maybe a nice size walk-in closet, but
Yeah.
not
it
a
was
big
me,
walk-in
you,
closet.
Clint, Sam, and a baby.
And a baby, which
Yeah.
was my memory. I mean,
Yeah, for a lot of
I was going
times,
to bring
yeah.
up the fact that Simone was right there with us, and I'd be
Yeah.
working and also bouncing a thing
Yeah.
with my foot.
Yeah, and-
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure you raised Simone just as much as I did, Clint. I mean, I have so many videos of you holding her,
swinging.
doing
Yeah.
on the computer or throwing her over your shoulder while
Yeah.
you're trying to get somewhere. It's just
Oh, we
It's
put out
crazy.
a dog video every week.
in the midst of all that.
with some crazy personality and story behind it. I love the detective one.
Oh yeah,
That's the one I remember.
yeah. And we would invite other people from the building to contribute
come
their
in
voices
and we'd have different voicings on it.
There was one you wrote a song for. Do you remember? You were like, I can't record it till tomorrow because I have to bring in my guitar. And then you like sat there and like made a song for this. I have to go watch all of those again.
You two were backing vocals, I think.
Oh my God. Yes. They're all on the Williamson County Regional Animal Shelter YouTube page from like 3 years ago.
You'd have to scroll down a little ways.
5 years ago, maybe.
You'll have to scroll down a little ways, but you'll find some created.
That's crazy. Well, we ought to put links at the end of the podcast for people who really have nothing else to do.
You want to see baby Clint? And
good stuff.
I just saw one of the very first ones we did, and my dreadlocks are like down to here.
Yeah.
And I'm just like swinging around. I'm like, whoa. But you look like a little baby.
Oh, I have definitely eaten since then, y'all.
Wow. Wow.
Had some color to my beard.
So in that little bitty room is when we said, hey, how about a podcast?
Yes.
And if I remember right, and I can be corrected because occasionally I'm wrong, I was the one who said for probably a year, we ought to do a podcast.
Sure.
We ought to do that.
Yeah.
And
that guy's so fun.
Yeah.
We could talk to him. That would be fun to do.
It came from, I think, a couple different places. One of them was the fact that we kept on having really interesting characters come through, and they were
Still do.
Here. Absolutely. There is a certain amount of time that they're here on pickup day, and
Right.
all of us would get in conversations with them, and they would come back and talk about our conversation with them. Or the other place is we just had fun in that small office. It was a little bit of a pressure cooker. You couldn't get around each other. So we had fun conversations anyways. So the neatness of those interactions with customers and the silliness of our interactions kind of was why don't we mash this together and record it?
Did we get any work done back then? I feel like we did so much, but
we started things.
When? I mean, I feel like we just were crazy every day. I mean, it was.
It was crazy.
It was madness.
Yeah.
You did what you're doing now, Lindsay. You wrangled every piece of inventory, all the titling, everything that blew around, and you kept it running. I just kept the business side running. I was everything back then. I was the HR, the paperwork.
Yeah.
And like all the things I used to throw at your head.
Yeah. She has fairly good aim, y'all. Just so you know.
And the entire room was turquoise, so it felt like you were in this tiny little
crazy house,
crazy place.
Right. And stuff was stacked because you had no place to put it. It was honestly. You know, you hear the phrase, and I mean, obviously it comes from, I guess, Tell Two Cities or something like that. Best of times, worst of times. It was largely the best of times.
Yeah. It really was.
Very creative time. Very silly time. Very hopeful and energetic time. Yeah, it was a good pressure cooker. Something good was going to come out of it.
It was like chaos, but it was progress chaos.
Yeah.
It was like fun.
It was also a great place to try things. There was a lot of how about we try it? You know, I think I'm pretty commonly say something along the lines of, hey, I have a bad idea, but I got to tell someone. And it was a creative place to say that and say, well, we need to try it then.
I can think of a failed idea.
What was that?
Y'all are good at remembering failures.
I'm
not
supposed
so good
to
at
talk
this.
about all the great things we've done, but the fails are more interesting.
Clint and I were going to start our own YouTube channels.
Oh,
remember that?
Golly.
But like
Yes.
it
It was going to be lifestyle
was
type
like we were like
stuff.
so serious about it.
Yeah.
And we worked on them
Yes.
for a long time.
Yeah.
And like how they were going to be different and how we could intertwine them.
Right.
And like we tried to name them so that we could like put the names together when we needed to.
Right.
And my sister wrote a theme song for the
She
beginning
did.
of my
She did.
YouTube videos. And
You know, I
I'm
think
so
it just got
glad.
away from us, but probably for the
honestly, I am so glad that I didn't do that.
best. Yeah.
So
Why?
I don't know. My kids all over YouTube is weird to me. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be all over. I mean, I know I'm on YouTube, but it feels different when it's like me talking about a camper
Right.
versus like a peek into my personal life. Like, no, I don't.
started to
I
get the
don't
sense
want,
of that too
I don't want that.
on my end as well. The lifestyle
Yeah.
content I think is really cool. I love storytelling component, because honestly, our
Mhm.
walkthrough tours aren't really great with the storytelling piece. PJ does better than me on those because she says, you know what? Here's a vision of how this space could
Right.
work, how I see the space working for you or for me, how I would use it. You know, she paints a little bit of a picture. I don't do that so well. But the lifestyle stuff is all storytelling.
Mhm.
And it sounds neat, but it also, I've watched YouTubers burn out.
Oh, yeah. And podcasters as well. I mean,
Right.
people who do all of this. And I think the reason that we couldn't get those projects going was because we thought about it too long.
Yeah.
We talked about it. We thought about it. We tried to get a
We
perfect
tried
launch.
to make it everything
and
like exactly how
you
we
can't
wanted it.
you can't do that.
Also-
Nothing we've been successful at started that way.
No, but also I,
mean,
think
nothing.
that we had successful vehicles and we wanted them to stay alive, and there's a certain amount of investment of time and resources to keep those
Yeah.
things going and to grow them that we might not have even had the space in the room to try to add something that big.
Right.
I'm really glad that I never did that.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, both of you, both Clint and Lindsay, are two of the most imaginative, creative people I have ever known. And
Different
it
creative, but it works.
It has been,
Yeah.
Different creative.
when I
We-
think
we
back
are.
of it, it has been really one of the best pieces of my life to hang out with you guys and do all the things that we've done.
Sure.
It really has
Absolutely.
been. And because I'm a planner, I'm a thinker, but I don't have the voice that you guys do. I don't have the fun. I don't have just the energy. You know,
We have energy.
yes, you
Back
do.
in the day.
We have
I am-
old energy.
I am
Back in the
half
day.
planning, half thinking, coordinating, but no, I'm boring as hell, and you guys are fun and creative.
Oh, no, you give us a springboard so often.
Yeah, but I have to give it to you. I have to say, here, guys, make this fun, because that's just not me. So thank you for that. It has been
Yeah.
just fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've done some really crazy things. So then we started the podcast. What did you guys think when we started it? What did you think it was going to be?
I don't know what I thought it was going to be. I guess the initial sell was because you were talking about it. We need to record this. We were, at least the two of us, I think all three of us were in a season where we were listening to podcasts more at that time.
Do you know I had never listened to one?
No, you hadn't?
Mm-mm.
Oh, well,
Really?
then the two of us were listening to
I was,
podcasts pretty
yeah.
heavily at that time.
I just knew they existed.
And so I think it was just to capture this and put it out there. It was sounded honestly relatively easy. I was listening to RV Miles podcast at the time, and that is a big podcast in this space.
Right.
And they are a very valuable resource even still.
Oh, yes. They've moved more into the news realm on their
Sure.
podcasting,
Sure.
which I think is fabulous.
they-
It is a great space.
They were a full-time,
Yeah.
what do they call, it's not homeschool.
Unschool?
They do the unschool.
Road school?
Road school. They were in a bus at the time, a converted bus. So they were doing more lifestyle stuff at the time.
Yep.
Now they have a static position and all, but I thought we could be somewhat of a compliment because we have the dealership perspective, and we were silly.
I think that's how it started. Like, we want to make a RV podcast, but we want to somehow make it different. And we're like, well, we're a dealership, so that's how we can make it different. And I remember in the beginning, it was very much like Clint and I wanting to make it the most like entertaining podcast ever, and PJ wanting to make it the most informative podcast ever. And do you remember in the beginning,
Yeah.
like
There's a little bit of
the like faces we
Struggle.
would get when me and you would just like go off and start like making voices and doing silly stuff, and PJ would be like like in the background, be like, crap, we're being too silly.
No, I love the silliness. I was afraid it would be too slow.
yeah.
I think I was afraid it would just be too slow. Turns out, PJ people like a little of everything. And
It turns out no matter what you
and-
do, somebody will not like it.
That's right,
And
that
somebody
too.
will love it.
Well,
That
this is
too.
what I came to is there's pretty much an audience for anything. And it may be big, it may be small, but there's an audience for anything.
I remember you telling me that a lot in the beginning.
Yeah.
And because, I mean, one of the well, first of all, last week, my husband was explaining to me about the barbecue event in Lockhart, and he was giving me the history of all the barbecue places.
That's a long
Well,
history. That's a family.
So
that's
we
messy.
took the basics of that,
Yeah.
and in our very first podcast, which had a fair amount of planning put into it, unlike what we do now, which is like, yeah, I wouldn't say no planning, but pretty darn close.
We just talk.
But in Lockhart, there is a family that split off and became 3 barbecue places.
Yes.
And now there's a few more. And
Yes.
it is a long family history of love and feuding.
Yeah,
And so we
Lockhart.
talked about that on our very first podcast
Yes.
and talked about the state park that's nearby.
We did.
Yes.
I gotta
And
go
we had
listen to
this
it.
all planned out. And
Yeah.
then I remember you and
Remember
I.
we used to type them out? Like
Yes.
we used to type out the words and
Sure.
just read the words.
Yeah. And
And then
finally,
we were like, we can't do this.
No, it's-
yeah.
we sound awful.
We were genuine writing it, but it doesn't come across as genuine
No.
reading it.
No, it was awful.
I forgot
So
about that.
yeah, we had we were going to do 3 sections in our podcast,
Yeah.
and
right.
we'd have an intro talking about the dealership. Then we'd have a section talking about something informative,
Right.
and we'd have a campground at the end.
Right. A highlight.
And-
It's a Texas
Yeah,
Park highlight or something.
some
We just
kind of
couldn't.
highlight.
We could
And it was
not
a
be
lot of
that
work.
Organized.
We're not that
There's
organized.
no way.
And do you remember then we went from writing it all out to, I said, let's just do like sections and bullet points.
Right.
And then you suck at bullet points, Clint. You
I can-
always have.
I can make a lot of
Oh
bullet
my
points.
gosh,
And it's
there's
like-
too many bullets.
I can make
It's like-
them.
this guy can vomit words on a page faster than you can imagine.
List maker extraordinaire.
So very guilty of that.
Yes.
But also, I can make lists. I have never referred back to any list I've ever made.
Yes,
not
yes, yes.
true.
That's not
I'm
true.
not good at it.
That's
So,
not true.
so when I said bullet points, we ended up with 8 pages
Yes.
of every detail. A bullet point is a paragraph.
Absolutely.
And
because
it was like,
needs
There's
all
so
the
much
details.
to say.
Clint,
There's-
No.
But I wanted to save paper, so we used 9-point font.
Well, all of that didn't work well either. So then we kind of morphed to here's some high points.
Yeah.
And now we kind of morphed to, hey, I found this 1962 Trailer Life magazine.
Yes.
Let's talk about
Let's
it.
flip through it.
Hey, I got the microphone set up. Grab a cup of coffee. Come on down.
Let's look through all the memes we can find about camping and just
Right.
point and laugh at them.
Yes.
But
So
but
let's
I'm
just
okay
call them
with
highs
all
and
of
lows.
yeah.
It's been a journey.
It really has been. I mean, and I think it's interesting that some of our podcasts are so informative and so Google searchable that they do really well.
How to finance.
Yes.
How to do your trade in. What to look for in a used RV. you
Right.
know?
And those are the things we really should be doing all the time because they're the ones that people will see over and over. We did a podcast on all the different kinds of toilets you could have in an RV.
That's right.
And I loved doing that
Sure.
podcast, and it did really well. And then we also, in the beginning, one of our early podcasts, we were like, quick, we need a podcast. We were in that lull of we can't think of anything. And we did a podcast on how to make coffee, which is a memorable one for all of us
Yes.
because we laughed so hard.
Yeah.
That and the one about snakes.
Yes, because that's important.
But but you guys got
Yeah.
off on a tangent and started.
That's what I was trying to find was like the clips that like you used to send me of when you were editing the podcast afterwards.
And in tears, laughing.
yeah, anytime you'd like find a clip of us doing something ridiculous, you would just like send me like a video on your phone of your computer screen playing it. but it was so long ago. I don't even know where any of those are anymore.
Well, maybe Clint will get bored and find a few of those and put them in this podcast for us. I don't know.
Maybe.
Who knows what will be in this?
Clint's
but
like, I'm so tired.
I mean, left here.
I know. Hey, and we got some more things
5
to
hours
do.
and I'm out.
Yeah, that's true.
The cattle are calling.
Yeah.
Lindsay's calling. Lindsay the cow. Moo.
But you know,
Put dreads on it.
it just turned into whatever it is, and I still have a fun time doing it.
It's gonna be extra weird without you.
I agree.
I think it's gonna be hard to say things.
I think.
Yeah.
I think that
I agree.
things will be different and weird for a little bit, but in every aspect of things that I touched, from making podcasts to videos and graphics and all that, I don't think you're going to get worse. I just don't think so.
Thank
I
you.
don't. I think
That's a
that there's
nice
a
photo
lot
finish.
of. I think there's a lot of potential there, and it's going to largely come down to can there be enough time, because this is a busy place for both of your roles. Can enough time be there available to you?
And also
To just, again, be yourselves, say your things from your thoughts and from your hearts, and it will be something different, definitely not worse, quite probably synthesized into something better. I do believe that that's there, available in all aspects of anything I've touched.
That's kind words. I mean, everything changes. Everything changes, and this will change too.
Yep.
And it's hard. It is hard. It's very hard for us because you have been the backbone of all of our projects, of all of our ideas, and you have never once told me no.
well, he's told me no. Wait a minute.
Well, okay.
He says yes to you, and then he turns to me and goes,
I have my ways.
Oh, you may have talked me out of a few things. I don't know. I don't remember. I do remember at a rally, a very early rally, sitting at 2 a.m. in our pajamas, probably, which were sweatpants and a t-shirt at the rallies. We're sitting in this cabin on the floor trying to figure out how to get everything done at Princess Craft.
Yeah.
And you told me, I just don't think I'm going to be here much longer.
Yeah. That was
And that was
7 years
about-
ago.
I'm thinking it was more like 10.
so he might not tell you no, but he does lie to you. Just so we're clear.
Oh. And what was the latest lie, Lindsay? Or the biggest lie?
I don't know. That he's not going to be here much longer.
Oh. Yeah, well, I pretty much, you know, I'm a born salesman, so I pretty much said, I'm just not done with, I'm not done selling you yet.
I will back you up on that. You are so good at selling a vision. And if you sell me a vision, I can come on board with it. And that happened, I think, 3 times over the past 8 years.
Well, good for me. Lucky me. And I didn't try to talk you out of this one.
No.
I think that it's wonderful for you. I think it's time. I think you have been leaning more and more into the ranch, and you just light up every time you talk about it. You light up, excuse me, I get choked up. You light up in a way that you used to light up when we talk about projects.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of been there, done that for you. So I think it's great. And we are going to try to see who we are when you're not here. And it's going to take an extra push for me. And it's going to take an extra push for Lindsay, because we're used to leaning on you for all of that. We're used to leaning on you for dad jokes. And for anybody who happens to still be listening and wants to know, Lindsay and I are going to figure out how to continue this podcast.
Caitlin, are you crying?
Caitlin's crying. It's hard.
I thought thought you were just. I thought you were just sick.
And
No,
sniffling.
she's just pregnant.
No.
Oh.
Caitlin, are you going to get on the mic with us? No. I mean, not right now, but like
That was a no.
next week.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, Caitlin is bawling. Stop it, Caitlin.
It's and so, yeah, guys, I don't know what this is going to look like, but I don't think like characters walking through here. How can you not do a podcast with Jimmy Rip?
Absolutely. Yep.
And I thought that was going to be such a long-winded, weird podcast. And that is the last one we put out, I believe.
I think,
Wow.
yeah.
And I listened to it because I ended up stuck, not sleeping in the middle of the night. And I thought, do we really need to continue to do this? So a couple of nights ago, I was in Houston working and turned it on.
Is it okay?
I had so much fun listening to
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and I was there.
Yeah, it was engaging.
And I think we have to continue with all the characters that walk through here. Jimmy Rip is a very famous rock and roller who played with all the people that you know and love.
Everybody, just
And
look him
such a
up.
cool guy.
Yeah.
We had so much fun. And that happens here at Princess Craft. We attract the fun. And we have to keep doing that. And sometimes we can talk about toilet options in your RV.
Right.
And sometimes we'll just talk to the fun people we know. And when I talked to Caitlin about it, Caitlin said, "You cannot stop." And
Wait, this is your fault?
and I had my doubts, and I have to say, I think she's right. And we are now here on microphones convincing Lindsay that, yeah, it's going to be different,
Yeah.
but we're going to do this.
It's going to be so much shorter.
About a foot
Like, you're
shorter.
going to have to adjust the camera down.
I'm slouching
All
back
right,
here.
good joke, Lindsay. And we're off.
Oh my gosh. Can I be done crying on camera now?
Yes. All right. Well,
Caitlin, I'm going to show you
So-
how to zoom in.
RV Small Talk for now is going to get a little smaller, but Lindsay and I will do our very best to carry the weight
Yeah.
and fill in the spaces that
And
you
maybe
would.
you can be a call-in guest sometimes.
Ooh, yeah. Actually,
Maybe we can have a
This week's Clint voicemail.
Yes.
Is that mooing in the background?
We can
That
have
would
a
be so
weekly Clint
fun.
update. Okay.
All right. Well, so RV Small Talk is going to get a little smaller, but we love you, Clint. We thank you for all that you have given to this community.
Sure. Absolutely.
And yeah, onward for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, Princess Craft. Thank you, listeners. It has been something I couldn't have possibly foreseen. I mean, the things we've been able to try, the things I've been able to learn, creativity to exercise. Thank you. Very much so. Thank you.
Well, we're a team.
Yep.
Now we're just a team with one of us far away.
I'm down.
All right. So till next time, we are signing off with RV Small Talk, and we'll be back in
Whenever
we'll
we
be
stop
back whenever
crying.
we can get our shit together.
I'll show,
All right.
I'll show you how to bleep that.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.